Welcome back to the Coach Momentum podcast. It's Karen Capello. Today I want to talk about one of the most confusing experiences coaches have. Why interested prospective clients still don't move forward. Here's what happens. A prospective client reaches out, they book a conversation, they tell you about their challenges. They tell you about their goals. They're fully engaged, they're interested and excited. And they tell you this is exactly what they've been looking for. And then nothing happens. No enrollment, no proposal acceptance, no next step, just silence. Or maybe a polite email. Thank you so much for your time. This was incredibly helpful. I'll reach back out when the timing is better. If you've been coaching for any length of time, you've probably experienced this. I know I have. And when it happens repeatedly, it's easy to draw a conclusion. I'm not good at sales, or I must not be communicating effectively. Yet I want to offer another possibility. What if your prospective clients are interested? What if they're genuinely excited? And what if they're simply not convinced yet that moving forward is the obvious next step? There's a very important distinction between interest and commitment. And many coaches unintentionally build businesses that generate interest. Very few intentionally build businesses that generate commitment. That is a big statement. Take that in. Interest sounds like, this sounds valuable. That's interesting. I never thought about it that way. You clearly know your stuff. Commitment sounds like, how do we get started? Those are very different responses, and the distance between them is often smaller than coaches realize. I remember speaking with a coach who was becoming increasingly frustrated. Every week she was having conversations. Every week people told her they needed exactly what she offered. Every week people left inspired, yet very few became clients. When we looked closely at what was happening, something became clear. Her conversations and coaching were excellent. The challenge was that the path forward wasn't clear. People could see the value, but they couldn't see the destination. Think about that for a moment. People buy outcomes, not processes, not methodologies, although you might have some great ones. Not coaching sessions, not frameworks, outcomes. The more clearly somebody can see where you're taking them, the easier it becomes to move forward. And unfortunately, many coaches describe their work in a way that sounds valuable, yet feels really difficult to measure. They talk about confidence, leadership, mindset. They talk about performance, communication, strategic thinking. All are important areas. Yet prospective clients are left wondering, what exactly changes? What will be different 6 months from now? How will I know this worked? And in the enrollment process, those questions matter because every buying decision involves uncertainty. And more uncertainty slows decisions. This is one of the reasons I believe so many coaches who think they have a conversation gap are actually experiencing an offer gap. The conversation feels difficult because the client isn't becoming certain. The client isn't becoming certain because the outcome isn't clear enough. And the outcome isn't clear enough because the offer hasn't been fully developed. So let's take a simple example. This one is mine. Imagine I would say to you, I help coaches become more confident. Because that is what I do. That's valuable, yet it's broad. Now imagine I say, I help former corporate leaders build coaching businesses that consistently attract ideal clients so they can replace their corporate income doing work that they love. Suddenly something changes. The destination becomes visible. Coaches can imagine themselves arriving there. They can evaluate whether that's something they want. They can quickly make a decision if this is for them. I do like to walk my talk. One of the most important lessons I've learned over the years is this: specialization accelerates commitment. The more specialized the outcome, the easier the decision. The more specialized the path, the easier the decision. And the more specialized the value, the easier the decision. Many coaches assume clients need more information, when often they really need more certainty. And certainty comes from specificity. That's why general messaging creates general interest. Specific messaging creates meaningful action. Now, let's talk about another challenge I see frequently. Many coaches unintentionally make their offer sound optional. The client leaves thinking this would be nice, and not this is important now. There's a difference. When a prospective client understands the cost of staying where they are, their urgency naturally increases. If a coach spends the next 6 months continuing to generate interest without clients, what does that cost them? Here's your cost. If they continue creating content that doesn't create conversations, what does that cost them? If they continue relying on referrals that arrive unpredictably, what does that cost them? These costs are real, and often a far greater cost than the investment required to solve the problem. Think about it. Your offer should help people understand both the opportunity and the cost of delay, because meaningful decisions rarely happen when people only see what's possible. They happen when people see what's possible and what's at stake. It's a both and. This is where many coaches unintentionally undersell their value. They describe what they'll do. They don't describe why it matters. And that's a missed opportunity. Your ideal clients are intelligent people. They make decisions every day. They understand investments and returns. What they need is enough clarity to connect your offer to the result they want most. That's why I encourage coaches to ask themselves a different question. Instead of asking, how do I make my offer more attractive? Ask, how do I make the results more obvious? Because when the result becomes obvious, the value becomes obvious. And when the value becomes obvious, decisions become easier. And when decisions become easier, conversations begin producing very different outcomes. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with a simple thought. Interest is wonderful. Interest means people are paying attention. Interest means your message is reaching someone. Yet interest alone does not build a coaching business. Commitment does. And commitment often begins long before the conversation. It begins with a clear offer and specialty and a clear outcome, which brings the client to a clear reason to move forward. In our next episode, we're going to talk about another symptom I see constantly among talented coaches. They spend enormous amounts of time creating content, yet get very few meaningful conversations resulting from it. And once again, the answer might not be what you think. We're digging deeper. Thank you for being a coach and supporting others to be the highest versions of themselves. We're here to help you do the same.